Hello and welcome to this very special presentation. I'm Osama Shab. Just days before his inauguration, President-elect Donald Trump, he had what he described as a very good phone call with China's President Xi Jinping. The two leaders, they covered critical issues like trade, fentanyl, and TikTok. Trump expressed confidence, stating that he expects to tackle and resolve many challenges together, starting immediately. The talks also come after the Chinese Foreign Ministry said that Xi Jinping would skip Trump's inauguration on Monday. Instead, the vice president, he will attend the ceremony and Xi's special representative. We have with us Ray Locker in order to discuss this and try and understand the significance of this phone call. Ray Locker, thank you very much for speaking with NDTV. In fact, what I want to understand is the significance of this phone call between Trump and Xi Jinping, especially with so many critical issues on table like trade and TikTok.
Well, we only have Trump's word on what happened in that phone call. If you remember, when Trump was president, he stopped providing what are called readouts of calls with foreign leaders. So you basically only have to go on his word or the word of the other leader if that country puts out a readout. And so I just want to caution people that, Donald Trump says a lot of things. They don't necessarily have to be true. But if he did talk to Xi Jinping and they did have conversation, I think that's productive if they touched on things that, the two countries can deal with in the future. Starting on Monday, Trump will be president. So it's relevant that they talked.
Right. With Xi Jinping choosing to skip the inauguration and instead send the vice president there, what does that signal about the state of the relationship that US and China share at the moment, and especially going forward now?
Well, most countries send some kind of representative to the inauguration. It was never realistic that Xi Jinping would be here himself. I mean, it's a security question. You don't just show up for something like that if you're the leader of one of the world's biggest countries just for a formality. So it's good that the Chinese representative is there. I think, it's good that the two sides are talking. It's always good to be talking. But beyond that, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Mr. Locker, how do you foresee the future of US-China relationship under Donald Trump? Because there have been a lot of question marks on his foreign policy and how he gets along with other big economies, especially like China. How do you see that under Trump now?
Well, the big question is if Trump is going to impose tariffs on Chinese goods. I think a lot of people are hoping he does not, because that'll be inflationary. I'm sure the Chinese don't want that to happen. So a lot remains to be seen. Trump has said, I'm going to tie tariffs to progress on fentanyl. If Xi says we're going to do something about fentanyl imports or exports, then Trump could say, well, he's going to do something we talked, so there won't be any tariffs. But, a lot of it's up in the air, and Donald Trump is a very mercurial person. So what is policy one day may not be policy the next.
Absolutely. In fact, Mr. Ray Locker, stay with us, because another big story that we are tracking is the TikTok ban. And reports, they say that President Joe Biden will not enforce the TikTok ban set to take effect just one day before he leaves office on Monday, leaving the decision to President-elect Donald Trump. Now, according to sources, the outgoing administration is handing over the responsibility of implementing the law and potentially enforcing the ban to Trump. Now, last year, Congress passed a law signed by President Biden requiring TikTok's China-based parent company to divest the app by 19th of January. President-elect Donald Trump, he took to Truth Social and said that the Supreme Court decision was expected and everyone must respect it. My decision on TikTok will be made in the not-too-distant future, but I must have time to review the situation, is what he has said. Mr. Locker, what are the legal ramifications of Biden administration choosing not to enforce a law it passed? Could this set a precedent for future legislative actions now?
Well, I guess so, but I mean, the law is supposed to come into effect on Sunday, which means the next business day is Monday, January 20th, the day that Trump will be sworn in. So it's logical that it would be carried over to the next administration. That often happens. Trump has been all over the map on TikTok. Earlier, he said he favored banning TikTok. Now he's not so sure. I mean, could it be that Elon Musk tries to buy TikTok? Hard to say. There's a lot of things that remain up in the air. Now, remember, again, Trump has said many, many times, you'll see what I have to say in 2 weeks or whatever, and then those 2 weeks pass and nothing happens. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade with Trump, but he says a lot of things that don't turn out to be true, and we saw that during his first administration, and I predict we're going to see that again starting on Monday.
True, and it also has to do with his previous stance on TikTok, and given his stance on banning TikTok previously and his recent reversal, what could be the motivations behind this change in policy direction, and how might this affect the consistency of U.S. tech policy?
Well, I think it means anybody who gets to Trump and makes a case to him personally has a good chance of getting what he or she wants. And I think right now one of those people is Elon Musk. That's why you see so many tech leaders scurrying to curry favor with the incoming administration. They want to have, a voice at the table because, they don't want to be left out. And so Trump is a very transactional person. He was transactional as president. He will be again. And so really that's why everybody wants to talk to him, to get their point of view across to him personally, one-on-one. And in terms of consistency for tech policy, I don't think there will be much consistency because he does things on a whim.
Right. Mr. Locker, there is a larger discourse around the future of social media regulations in the United States. How might this case influence future attempts to regulate or ban social media platforms in the United States, particularly those with foreign ownership?
Well, I think the thing with TikTok is there were determined ties to the Chinese and how it could the Chinese government could influence what shows up on TikTok. I don't think that is true with some of the other social media platforms. In general, I think you're going to see more, a more wide open social media world with fewer examples of content moderation. We've seen that with Facebook. And if you notice by looking at Twitter, which is now called X, in the years since Elon Musk has bought it, I mean, it's just turned into a kind of a free-for-all with all sorts of stuff, showing up out on there that's not true. And I predict we'll see more of that, which is not a great thing.
Absolutely. Mr. Reed Locker, thank you very much for speaking with NDTV and sharing your views on this entire call.